We're looking at Fantastic Four number 17, or Legacy issue 662, because why not? This is part 4 of Point of Origin, and Marvel has kind of told us this is a big issue. It's going to matter. You need to read it and kind of really pay attention because it's going to change some things up. So does it do that? Well, let's look at it. Hey there, this is Perch. Fantastic Four. So Fantastic Four was relaunched with Dan Slott writing it after being on a hiatus for a long time. And the book had some stumbles out of the gate in terms of the artist who was on it, Sarah Pacelli, was kind of went off of it rather abruptly without a lot of warning, and then the titles had some delays in terms of shipping. So those are just facts. Every time I say this title's had some problems, invariably somebody comes on and it's like, no, it isn't. It's a perfect title ever. I'm not talking about the content. I'm just talking structurally. The title has had some issues. It came into a lot of fanfare. It since has dropped in the sales. It's not doing as well as it once did, and I think the expectations are down. By issue 17, it's not where it was hoping to be. Anyway, this storyline was designed to kind of be a big one, that it was going to retell a little bit of the Fantastic Four origin, that was going to introduce some pretty big things into the mythology, and I think the Marvel didn't necessarily compare it this way, but a lot of the solicits, some of the marketing was kind of saying this was equivalent to some of Byrne's really big runs where it did transformational things to the Fantastic Four. So, what's happened? Well, the Fantastic Four has gone into space. They've made a new ship modeled after their old ship, kind of for nostalgia reasons, and they're going to complete their original mission, which we hear in this issue is going to a place in the galaxy that contains a planet called Spire. They didn't necessarily know, I think, that planet was there. They're heading out. So they land there, and they've discovered that there's a bunch of superpowered people on the planet, and the Fantastic Four are feared as kind of destroyers and big enemies. That their arrival has been prophesized, and the planet has been kind of guarding against these terrible four off-worlder people. So this shenanigans ensued, and Reed and Sue kind of went one way. They're being hunted by the other superheroes. The Thing gets banished down into Lowtown, which is where this planet's sending all the monsters. And Johnny has been revealed to be soulmates with Sky, flying superhero, and so Johnny's got a little love interest problem. But anyway, the problem with this issue, I just want to say on the offset, is for me, I always been bothered by this, some people not, is we have 4 artists going on. So the art kind of goes all over the place from different sections. And at first it's all right, the flashback is told from a different artist's perspective, but then when we get into the meat of the story, a lot of different things are happening. But the comic goes, we get a little bit of the history of this planet, kind of everything I just mentioned. We get the fact that Sky is torn, that her soulmate's an off-worlder, and that's bad. And we learn that, we kind of see the first time that the Overseer has granted people, he's harnessed the cosmic rays, and he's brought them to the planet, and he's, injecting, or, they're in the classic old superhero tube, where they put purple beamy goo all over you and give you some powers. So first guy gets, water powers, and that's pretty cool. He immediately splashes water all over the electronics in the room, ruining everything. But don't worry, they've got their Best Buy protection plan, so that's all good. And then the second guy who goes in, he gets turned into a big, hulking grass tooth monster, and he's hideous. So he gets banished and chained up and sent down below into the pits, away from his wife and his daughter, and that's bad. And so, he goes away. So then that brings us to today, where Ben has basically told all the monsters, we're going to climb up, and we're going to go, all the people over the years who have had these cosmic rays and turned into hideous creatures have been in the pit, and Ben's going to lead them out, and revolution time is here. And so then then the issue kind of just gets into some general, people are chasing around. Johnny is hanging out with Sky. He's all into this whole soulmate business. And the soulmate, by the way, there's a little armband that kind of tells you who your soulmate is, or links things on up. So that's how people know for sure. It's Match.com is basically on a little wristband or armband. Now, what's been true, I think, of almost everybody writing Sue Storm at Marvel, not just Dan Slott, not in this issue, but a lot of places, is she is written just crazy right now. I look, her dialogue is just all over the place. Sometimes she's being written as kind of a scientist. Sometimes she's using Andrea Alicia Cortez's comments. She's saying, new reality, who dis? Sometimes she's, and now here she's saying, God, we've been on this planet for a day, and she's kind of yelling at, Johnny and kind of flipping out. It's very, the Sue Storm, people have not figured out what's going on with Sue Storm. Reed is, kind of at times hipster Reed, scientist Reed. Johnny's kind of himself, Ben's himself. I think Dan Slott in writing the Fantastic Four, he's, the voices are generally fine. They are who they are, except Sue Storm. The Invisible Woman continues to be written really, really odd. And that's puzzling because Sue Storm is, she is, probably the most powerful character on the team and kind of an original Marvel superhero. And so to see people kind of writing her all over the place in terms of her dialogue and stuff is somewhat painful. But anyway, battle continues. The Sky heads off to go tackle the monsters while Johnny is trying to figure out whether he wants to go help his girlfriend or help his family. Classic Johnny. Monster fight ensues. People are... Now here's an interesting thing is, they're starting to get some hesitation to this fight. So the Overseer superheroes are reluctant to attack the monsters, and maybe these monsters are people they know. Reed and Sue break in to the big Overseer's place, and back and forth, shenanigans. But the big punch at the end, and this is where this issue is, high on eBay or whatever else is why it matters, is that it's revealed at the very, very end that the Overseer has been, harnessing the cosmic rays to give his people powers, but that he's also learned how to redirect, modify, amplify them. And the cosmic rays, he's been collecting her from 50 light years away. And he reveals the Overseer's secret, which is Reed was smart. His shields of his original rocket ship were strong enough. The Overseer actually amplified the cosmic storm, weaponized it, and attacked the ship, basically giving the Fantastic Four their powers. So their powers came from this older Anti-Monitor looking dude who basically gave everyone the powers. And so that's the big dramatic punch here that we basically learned. We basically learned that where the Fantastic Four's power came from. What does it mean for this world? The Overseer's been lying. We've got a planet full of superheroes. There's a good-looking society and an ugly monster society, and how's this all going to play out? So one more issue's left in this storyline, and the big earth-changing thing, everything you knew about the Fantastic Four's origin was wrong, and, well, not really wrong, but where did those cosmic rays come from? Why were they so strong? How did they get through Reed's amazing ship? Well, it's this dude. He did it and put it up there. So, so what's going on with this issue? I did a review of this issue, not because... Fantastic Four is a title I've loved for a long time. The reboot I'm not thrilled with. It seemed off to me in a lot of ways, but I always hate it. I hate the ongoing commentary of the comics were much better back when. I don't like saying that. I mean, there are good comics out today. There are good comics out then. Every comic run in history has good eras and bad eras. And I'm not saying this era is, the worst I've ever seen. There's been worse Fantastic Four eras, for sure. But I do think that, some of the dialogue with Sue Storm is terrible. The way Franklin and Valeria are written is really goofy. And the title just hasn't hit its stride yet. It just has not had those moments that you should have had by now. It should have had some compelling piece. And so this storyline here, Point of Origin, was designed to kind of give it that. And if you read it, it does have some of that classic kind of John Byrne feel to it. It feels more like that than, say, the Jonathan Hickman Fantastic Four run. It has that kind of family doing adventures, and there's some crazy cosmic world building stuff. It does have that feeling to it. But on the other hand, there is something missing. And part of it's in the dialogue, part of it's in kind of the way that this, as I ran through the issue there, it's just people running around, and there's some monsters here, and there's some attacks here, and there's plenty of dialogue, but it isn't. It's like the characters. There's no time to breathe. It's like there's just this kind of getting people from point A to point B. And if I look at, I look back at some of the old Fantastic Four issues from Byrne, and what you really pick up there is every page had moments where you were reinforcing the characters, or there was something kind of progressing, and it didn't feel like it was just a quick sprint from beginning to the end of the issue. So, is this comic for you? Yeah, I think if you like Byrne's Fantastic Four, if you like the classic Fantastic Four issues, this storyline is probably the closest we've gotten to it in the new run. I have a lot of fondness for these characters, so I don't have a completely objective way of saying this. I want to like the issue, so I go in wanting to like the issue, and that changes my perception. It gives me not the clearest viewpoint to portray. But if you like kind of a more classic comic feel, if you like, I mean, it's a superhero book. There's some dynamics going on here. My hope is that they can work out the kinks, and this title can kind of rise above and be that solid title that we all want it to be. It's just not there yet. It's just missing pieces. So it's hard to say, is this comic for you, because it's missing kind of an element for every direction that I would point people to. It's like if you really like action books, it's not quite that. If you like family books, it's not quite that. But it's not terrible. This retelling of the Fantastic Four origin, some people get upset at that. It's not really retelling anything. It's just adding kind of another dimension to it. At the end of the day, the Fantastic Four's core origin is the same. It's just a matter of this wasn't a happy accident of cosmic rays. It was more directed. So the question would be, really, whether this storyline will land over time or not, is will the Overseer character be a major villain in the future? Or is this guy going to be kind of one and done, gone next issue, and then none of this world building matters? That's what we don't know. So go one direction or the other. Anyway, what did you think? Did you read this issue? Are you reading this issue? Are you a big Fantastic Four person? Would love to hear your thoughts on the matter. Leave me a comment below. Love those. Hey, subscriptions make me feel like you care. I don't like saying it like that. that was a douchey thing to say. Sorry. Subscribe or like if you wouldn't mind. I appreciate it. And follow me on Twitter at Comic Perch. Thanks for listening.